again, my friends. Once more, welcome back to Leopard Street. Welcome back to the cellar. The cellar where today I'm fixing something. My little friend who's lurking down here is the A1, Hornby A1, Knight of the Thistle. Recently acquired, recently reviewed. Mentioned in the previous video, she's been a little bit poorly. So today we're going to have a look at that. Going to fix her. And I know I'm going to fix her because I'm filming this at the end of fixing. So, yeah, if you hadn't guessed, I tend to film the intros at the end. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to fix her. We're going to run around. We're going to do a few little bits of running shots of her going. I've got my Thompson coaches out, which I don't normally run. They weren't in a box, and the Gresley ones are in a box. So I've got the Gresley Loco hauling the Thompson coaches because the Thompson Loco is still back there not being fixed. Anyway, this is Leopard Street. Okay. Previously on Leopard Street, God, it almost sounds semi-professional talking like that. Anyway, this is Spike. This is my A1 Pacific, Hornby Railways Range Knight of the Thistle. Hence the name Spike. Anyway, yeah. Lovely loco. Ran quite well until... Zoom in a little over here. There's manual zoom. I'm actually moving the camera. This crank pin didn't fall out, thankfully. I did have video of this, but like a ham-fisted oaf, I managed to delete it. I just had her running. She wasn't being filmed. She's a new loco. I wanted to run her for a bit because I like running trains. I come down here sometimes and not everything gets filmed. Anyway, she was rumbling around quite happily. A couple of coaches behind her. I heard a click. Thought, what's that? Heard another click. Not straight away, just a second or two later. Thought, I'll bring her back up to the station. And I'll have a look. Anyway, she got about halfway around the layout. She was under the station area, heading back up. And instead of a click, there was a clunk. Quite a mechanical sounding clunk. And I thought, ooh, I wonder what that is. Oh, bother. Or similar words. This is why I built the emergency stops in the layout. So I pressed the red button. Because I saw she'd stopped moving. I mean, very abruptly stopped moving, derailed the coaches behind her, or at least one of them. And she was sitting there buzzing. You know that noise you get when a motor's stalling, and it's like, that draws current, that'll damage the decoder. Clunk, emergency stop button. I can then play around with cutting the power in JMRI. That's why I got the buttons. And I brought her onto the desk, and what I found was the coupling rod was a little bit further round. This crank pin was still in place, but it was hanging out, and it was binding under this bit. So the wheels have gone just slightly further around than where they were, clunking around there. And it was binding, I think it was binding under this side here. And that locked the whole drivetrain and the motor was stalling. I thought, ooh, that doesn't sound good. So off the layout she came. And then I brought her over here, and that's when I noticed the crank pin was loose. It was just like, I just started moving the wheels, and it's like locked apps. I mean, this one had a little bit of wobble in it. These two locked absolutely solid. I thought, oh, it'll just be a loose crank pin. This is when I realised I don't have a tool for adjusting crank pins. So I got it wasn't this knife blade. I got a knife blade and just gently twisted it round a bit just to push it back in. I thought, well, it's not fully tight, but we'll see what happens. And I just left it. And what I then did is I ordered one of these, Hornby 913, I think it is. And it's their crank pin tool. It's basically a 2.5mm and a 2mm nut driver. I did look just for some nut drivers. This was actually cheaper. It was under £6 from Rails. When I showed the other stuff the other week, I ordered this at the same time, so I got the points, I got the extra buffer stops. Anyway, I came in and I thought, well, this will be an easy fix. Put it on, turned it, tightened it up. brilliant. Went to check. Nothing moves. Slackened it off. Everything moves fine. But the crank pin's loose. What I found, and I'm going to try and show this if I can. Incidentally, yes, tissue paper. I don't have a cradle. Somebody suggested using a tea towel. I just used some tissue paper in the end. But if you look on the back of these wheels, let me just find a little piece of paper. It might be easier to draw this. Have I got some paper to hand? Sometimes I have. You see what I can find. Yes, I do have some paper. Admittedly, not the paper I wanted, and it's got a load of stuff sitting on top of it, of course, but, well, such is Leopard Street. Right, so, bit of paper. What you've got, one of these wheels, is it's more or less round, hopefully rounder than I've drawn it, and that's plastic. And on the outside of that, there's a metal tyre, and it's got a hole in the middle that goes onto an axle, and then you've got the various spokes. Well, you've got a hole for the crank pins. It's in one of the spokes. But I think on these, it's on a spoke, but it also connects to the adjacent spokes. And that's just a hole. And if you look at the wheel from the side, there's a little bit of a flange there. What you've got in there, centre, in there, there's a slot, and in that slot there is a metal nut, and that works. And then your crank pin screws into that, and the pin, it's got a head on it, it's got a smooth shoulder, and then it's got a threaded bit. And what happens is you screw it into the nut, which is there, you tighten it onto the nut, and this shoulder then has your running gear sitting on it. It's loose, but the nut is tight. Well, what happened on Spike is that nut isn't there. Well, it's there, but it's not there. That nut is like that. It sticks out the back a little bit. It's not been put in square. It is an assembly defect. However, I got Spike at a discount, and I strongly suspect if I tried to return her, Rails would probably sort it out. Rails are good. I'm not saying a word against it. Rails are good. There's a chance they're out of stock, whatever, and I like Spike. So I thought, well, I'm going to try and fix this. But what happens is you screw the nut in, the shoulder goes into the hole, and it binds on the coupling rod. So can't have that. So I need to leave that crank pin loose. You can see where this is going. A loose crank pin was what started the problem in the first place because it fell out. So what I've done, I ordered some of this thread lock. I used to use this a lot in my actual one-to-one scale railway technician days. Not usually this stuff, but sometimes this one. They come in different colours. This is just a cheap one. You can get a Loctite. I think the Loctite version is Loctite 222. Purple one is low strength, which is perfect for tiny little things like this. There's a blue one, which is a bit stronger, and there's a red one, which it's not coming out. It's like gluing. You do it on a big bolt, you can get the thing out. Small bolt like this, you're going to shear it before that Loctite will come out. It's like gluing it in. So I thought, I'm going to do that, and I put a tiny little bit, I took the bolt out, put a tiny little bit of glue on it, Loctite thread, it's not glue, on the thread. Not much, I didn't want big bulging drips of it. And then I screwed it back in, tightened it down, not all the way, so it's loose, and then left it. And it says leave for 20 minutes before it's touch dry, and basically 24 hours for full strength. Well, I did that last night, so here we are. You may, if I just roll her over a little bit, I don't know how easy it is going to be to see it. The lock nut thing sticks out the back, but only by a very little bit. You can't really see it. It doesn't bind on things. So there's one more thing I need to do before we put her back on the track and power her up, and that is I've got to find somewhere, hopefully somewhere relatively close to hand. It's always the way. Mutter, mutter, mutter. Somewhere I have some lubricating oil. Ah, I can see it. Because obviously, to put that Loctite on, you have to clean the track pin. You have to clean the oil off. So I did that. So what I'm now going to do is use a bit of this just onto the join because I want it to be slightly lubricated. Now this oil's red, which is a bit weird. It actually got it for Scalextric's cars. That should work. I want the top off with my finger, but I'm going to need to run that in. And while I'm at it, thinking about it, I'm actually just going to do the axle bearing behind in case that is also dried out a little. So I'm going to lift up here, and there, just a little dab of oil, just on that side. And that should do. Okay. To the layout. Okay, here we are. Spike back on the layout. Now I have taken the opportunity to use the fact she's sitting on my programming track to do a little bit of reprogramming while we're here. Previously, this is a Zimo decoder. She had acceleration. I forget what it comes as a default. I think it's 3 and 4 in CVs 3 and 4, or it might be 6 and 3. I've reset it so her acceleration and braking values are 12. 12 watt, I've got no idea. I don't know how the Zimo decoders calculate it. But 12, so she picks up and slows down a bit more smoothly. One thing I didn't notice before, she would accelerate gently, but when you came to stop, she stopped quite abruptly, which was a bit, yeah. I'm wondering if that was to do with the wheel stiff. But anyway, let's see how well she goes now. She's only got a little bit of space to play in, but here, off she goes and stop. Slows down, reverse, bring it back past the camera. And the wheel pin that was there doesn't appear to be terribly loose. She goes slowly. Now the question is now, is she was pretty good at crawling. That's speed step 1. And I'm not going to complain at that. So yeah, just a little bit. So she can crawl at a suitable speed. Now the next thing I need to do, I'm going to run that pin in for a little bit. Now the Loco has run in. So my turntable is currently not functioning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send her down in reverse, not at massive speed, around the loop. Then I'm going to bring her back up. Then I'm going to stick some coaches on the back. Now, most of my stock, I ended up putting it away. So what I'm actually going to do is dig up my Thompson A2, the Thompson style coaches, and I'm going to use those. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run around, I'm going to turn her back, and we'll be back in a minute. Catch you in a sec. Apologies for the handheld camera work. Yeah, pass the glue pot. Back into focus. Focus! There's a camera stand coming up in a sec. There we go. Never mind. Other issues as she trundles around. She'll go out of sight in a sec. Yes, you remember from the last video. Zoom back a bit. This piece of track here and the tale of woe with the soldering iron. I was looking at quite an expensive Weller. I did a bit of reading, and apparently the cheaper ones, and by cheaper I mean 200, 250 quid cheaper, the quality on them is not as good as it used to be. So I've decided to give that a skip. I've got a soldering iron in a box down there. Now that's a recommendation from someone who also runs model railways, so hopefully it'll work. It's the one DCC Concepts used to flog, although this is by its manufacturer rather than their branding. Here we go, still coming around backwards nicely. The layout is set up in out and back mode, so she's going to run back up to the station. Yeah, so I've got a soldering iron. I'm going to do, I'm not going to say an unboxing. I've taken it out of the box already. I'm going to have a look. But I'm going to set that up and I'm going to do a review of that for the next video. And we're going to try fit this as one of the tests. The test is going to be to fit that and build the other DTC2. So, yeah, although, note, I'm not going to make you sit through me doing all of it. We're just going to do some experimentation. Oh, here she comes again. Zoom back in a bit. Still running nicely. In reverse. I'm not running it particularly quickly in reverse. I would note that is nothing to do with the locomotive. She'll run quite happily fast backwards and forwards. However, this is Leopard Street, and I know the quality of my track work. Therefore, I'm not running it particularly quickly. So she's coming around here. She's on the approach track, obviously going in reverse. I'm going to go and dig some coaches up in a minute. And here she comes. Really is lovely loco, and my intention is to run her a couple of laps. I'm then going to bring her back up, and I'm going to check to see how secure that that nut is. So bring her over here. Stop. Oh, that's a nice gentle slowdown. Yeah, again, sorry for the camera work, zoomed in a bit. Right, I'm going to put her on the other track. I'm going to go find some coaches. I'm going to couple them up, and then we're going to run some trains. See you in a minute. Okay, off we go with some seldom used coaches. Let's see how she goes. As I say, the Gresleys are in a box currently. As I was starting to do some tidying up, for once I decided to listen to some advice and put things away. So I did. So there we go. Off she goes. I'm going to make a few adjustments on the layout because I wanted to go and do a loop round. And let's open the taps a little bit. And I'm going to run her on the clockwise loop for a little while before I run her on the anti-clockwise loop. So, yeah. Seems to be running. I'm going to leave her to it for a bit. I'm going to take a few more bits of video and we'll show you the Hornby A1 running. Right, now, a little bit of a running session there. Not entirely flawless. Spike behaved 100%, no problems whatsoever. I've got to check that nut in a minute. The coaches, the first part going anti-clockwise, yep, spotless, absolutely flawless. The second part, where they came clockwise, yeah, they derailed at Leopard Junction. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go around, I'll just reset, I'll put them back on, I'll try again. Derailed again. Okay, we'll go around a bit more slowly. Derailed again. So what I've done, most of these coaches, they're not on the original wheels. Most of them, they were 3 axles of the Hornby metal coach wheels and 1 axle of the DCC Concept resistor fitted wheel sets. And for whatever reason, the one on the leading coach, which was axle 3 going that way, was derailing on one particular set of points every single time, no matter what the speed. I'm even going over at a crawl, it derailed. The back-to-back's fine. I've put normal Hornby wheels on, and they work fine now. So, yeah, as you saw, I've been running them around quite nicely. What I've got to do is find somewhere to put her, because both of the arrival roads have currently got freight trains on. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do a little bit of shunting, or shuntering. So, yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get Spike back on the bench so I can check that nut. And we'll be back. Okay, here we are, back up at the station. Interesting point, which is bringing her in. She hit the buffer stops. I tried stopping her, and the layout, the communication with the layout had died for some reason. I had to use the emergency stop. So what I need to do, and the track power is off because this is metal, is put that onto there and just check it's still. If I can get the nut to actually go, if I can get the thing to go on, that is, obviously. Get on there. The right end. Yeah. Check I've got the right end with it. That's going to go on. It is. And that's still firm. So, with that, yeah, I think we're going to call this one quits. Knight of the Thistle is back on the roster. You got to earn your keep now. So, yeah, that's that. So, a little bit of progress. Locomotive back on service, thanks to a little bit of Loctite. I've got another rake of coaches that now work. Now I've sorted that out. They need a lot of cleaning. They need new couplers. They need lots of paint. That's another video. But that's it for this one. So this has been Leopard Street. Yeah, I mean, you probably not learnt a huge amount in that, other than balding old fool can use Loctite and can use a spanner. But short of that, that's been that. And for reference, this is the stuff I've used off Amazon. It was about £4 or £5, I think. So that's that. So I'll catch you in the next one, which I say should be a soldering iron review and testing video, I hope. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week. As usual, likes, comments, shares, etc. are more than welcome. I do read them. I do try to respond to most of them. And yeah, I'll see you then. This has been Leopard Street. Thank you very much.